Welcome to our program. We'll cover the fundamentals of defense. And remember, defense will keep you in the game. And if you're in the game, you have a chance to win. We'll cover the fundamentals of stance, footwork, pressuring the ball, help defense, denial defense, post defense, blocking out, and rebounding. And at the end of each section, we'll have some great defensive drills for you. And now I'd like to introduce you to my longtime assistant, Dick Helm, who is a great fundamentals coach.
Balance is so important in assuming a good defensive stance. Without good balance, we're not able to make the proper moves in guarding our player, either individually or as a team. The balance that we see now in this picture, we have hips down, feet are spread, and the palms are up. We see that the player is now able to move in any direction. If he wants to move backwards, we'll notice the slides. This is an example of a good drop step. Now we'll look at the drop step once more. Drops the step, he's able to retreat and still get back to a good defensive stance position. This cannot happen unless you have good balance. Now let's watch as our player moves to the left, then back to the right, and then again assumes a normal defensive stance. If we need to, and the shooter is attempting a shot, we can close out with a step forward. The hand is up in the shooter's face on the ball side. The player then assumes his normal defensive stance. Again, as you practice this, it may look easy, but holding this position for several minutes is very difficult.
Your defensive stance and footwork in basketball are so important, especially if you want to play good defense. And we're going to take a look at what we're talking about. First of all, you want to have a balanced stance, okay? You want to have your hips down, all right? You want to have your feet spread apart so that you can slide your feet. Now let's take a look at our demonstrator here. First thing you notice is that here he's in a semi-crouch position, okay? Just like a lion or a tiger. When it's ready to do something, it has to get in that kind of position. Look at the feet right here, spread apart, great balance, okay? The other thing that helps with balance, but also helps you defend, is right here. Look at the hands, okay? The hands are up, palms are turned out, so that now the defender can drop step, he can step forward, he can slap at the ball. He has that great balance. So stance and footwork are so important in playing good defense.
One of the important parts of individual defense is not only the stance, but the footwork. One of the things that we're going to be looking at in this coming drill is the drop step. I want you to notice how our players assume a good defensive stance, and as they slide and the player starts to penetrate around, they will use a drop step. Then, with good defensive slides, they will cut off the penetration of their man to the basket. As you practice this technique on your own, assume a good defensive stance, get good balance, keep your head up, and work on those slides. Let's see how it looks now. Notice a good defensive stance, sliding of the feet, and there's a drop step, preventing the man from attacking the basket. Again, slide the feet, the drop step, and it keeps the man from advancing.
Okay, in this drill, we get a chance to see our stance and our footwork while applying pressure defense. Let's look at the players right here. First, you stay up, slide your feet. Great action there, drop step back. Always keeping yourself in front of the man with the ball, never allowing him to drive to the basket.
One aspect of every team defense is the ability to stop the ball. Along with stopping the ball, we need to rely on teammates to help and recover on their own man. This aspect of our ball defense shows the importance of stopping penetration with good weak side help. Notice how the player comes from the weak side of the court to shut off the drive, and the weak side guard drops to cover the open man. Let's look at it again. There comes the weak side help. Did you notice how the guard went down to help inside? Again, they shut off the ball. Ball's reversed. Here comes help. Weak side player drops to shut off the inside.
Players playing the game of basketball today are so good that no one player can stop the other by himself. And that's why help defense becomes so important. All right, we're going to watch our demonstrators now in a help defense sequence. You see the ball on top here, all right? We got the floor set. We got players in position. Now, once the action starts, watch what happens, okay? So here we go. Right here, we dribble down. Now, let me show you right here, right? This player is pressuring him, and he gets beat a little bit. So where does help come from? It comes from the weak side. This player now has to get into this position to help. This player right here now has to drop down to take passing lane away. And also, as we say in basketball, he has to drop to ball level. All right, let's see what happens now. Right here, you'll see that we continue. The player gets here in time to help his teammate. So what we have is we've enclosed the offensive player. He really has nowhere to go. Over here, look what happened. Our player on top dropped to ball level, so there isn't a pass under the basket that can be made. The only pass is going to be out here, all right? Well, if that pass is made out there, we have a chance to recover. So the defense has been great so far. All right, the ball is passed outside. Now let's look at everybody. Right here, as the ball is passed outside, this man has to recover, okay? Now he can recover quickly because he knows his teammates are going to help him. This player here, he has to recover in this direction, okay? This player, now what he's going to do is kind of move in this area here, see? He's going to move in this area, so he's in position to help his teammates. All right, let's roll it a little bit and see what happens. All right, we get out there. Now, this is great because it teaches young people how to play good help defense. This player has recovered. He hasn't run by the man, so he's here to play him. All right, this player here has opened up, and you always open up so that you can see your man here and the ball out here, okay? This player here, now as his man goes out to the top, what he does is he comes up with him, but he also opens up to the ball. Remember, you always want to see the ball and you want to see the person that you're guarding. Now we're in position to help one another again. That's great. Good help defense can help you be a better basketball player.
The term denial is used a lot in team defense. One of the things that we want to show you next is how to deny a player from catching the ball. If we do this successfully, we can take a team out of their offense, maybe go to an option that's not as good. This requires a lot of effort on the defensive player's part. He's going to have to get his arm out in the passing lane so that the ball has to be reversed in a different direction. This is something all you players need to work on during your practices. Eliminate your man from catching the ball. If he does catch it, as in that situation, square up and play good individual man-to-man defense.
Denial defense makes it difficult for the offensive player to receive the ball. We're going to take a look right here. Here we are denying. The defender is right up. The defender has his arm out in the passing lane. So the offensive player cannot receive the ball. Look at his teammate. He cannot make that pass without it being intercepted. So denial defense worked that time. Now let's see what happens when the player does catch the ball. Again, we're still in a denial state here, But what happens is that we've made the offensive player catch the ball out here by the three-point line. Now it's difficult to make a pass into the post or to take a shot. So our denial defense worked.
One of the most important phases of team defense is being able to defend the post or the low post player. This is an area in basketball where the highest percentages of shots are made. So as a good defensive player, it's important to know how to reduce that percentage of shots with good individual defense. We want to show you next the 4 ways that you can defend the low post. A lot of this depends upon the position of the ball. So let's follow along as we start by 3/4ing the low post man with the ball near the top of the key. Now you'll notice there's a good position. The player has his arm in the passing lane, and it makes it difficult to enter the ball from this position. If the ball is advanced now to the corner, the player has to readjust his position and assume a 3/4 on the baseline side. You'll notice that when he stepped over the front of the player. Let's run through that again. The ball goes to the top, we step over and 3/4. The ball goes to the corner, we step over and 3/4 on the baseline. All right, now with the ball at the top, there are times that we may decide to front the low post player. This simply means that we step over in the front, depending upon a teammate to help us from the weak side. This is a great change of pace in defense. The 4th way, again, as the ball goes to the top, is to play directly behind the man with a forearm in his back, hopefully pushing him off the lane a bit before he establishes his position. All right, let's look at those 4 positions one more time so that you can become acquainted with the ways in which to defend the low post player. We call this the 3/4 from the top when the ball is entered from the top. The ball goes to the baseline, we step over and defend from the baseline. The ball goes to the top and we decide to front. So there's a step over and we look for weak side help from a teammate. The 4th way is to push our man off the block before he gets good position, keeping position directly behind the man.
Defending the post can be a tough job. Coach Helm gave you 4 ways in which we can defend the post and do a pretty good job of it. So let's take a look, okay? The first one that we're going to look at is 3/4ing the post, okay? Now let's take a look right here. This is what we're talking about. Here the defensive player is on the top of the offensive player. He has his arm extended into the passing lane. He's making contact with him. So it's difficult to pass the ball into the post from the top. Now what happens if the ball moves down to the corner? Okay, let's take a look at that. Here the pass is made to the corner. Now what happened was that our defender stepped in front of the man. Remember, he didn't go behind. He stepped in front of the offensive player so that he could get this position here where again he's in position to be on the bottom side but also has his arm extended into the passing lane. Now, the offensive player cannot make a baseline pass there, so we've handled that situation. The next one is going to be fronting the post. Now, the only time that we front the post, which you'll see right here, our defender is fronting the post. He's in front of the offensive player, but he has to make contact so he knows exactly where he is. Now, the only time we do that is if we have help in this area. Now, remember our drill earlier, we had the help defense, right? So here again, that's where your teammate would be to give the help defense to prevent the lob pass. The 4th way is we play behind the man. So in playing behind the man, what you want to do is beat him to his position. If you try and beat him to his position and make contact. Now right here, we got contact with the offensive player. Now look at this. We keep our forearm right on his back here to control the offensive player, but we do not allow him into the lane. Now, once the pass is made into him, release so that you can control whatever that offensive player does. He'd have a difficult time finding you. So those are 4 pretty good ways of defending the post.
Defensive rebounding. That's a key to successful winning basketball. Remember, we must prevent second shots. Each second shot is worth over a point. Therefore, we must execute terrific fundamentals to prevent this from happening. As we watch now, I want you to observe the fundamentals that our players are using to capture a defensive rebound. They're going to use a reverse pivot in tight to the basket or a forward pivot out on the perimeter. They're going to spread their legs, feet, so that good body balance is obtained. Arms and elbows will be extended to prevent the offensive player from going around. Body contact is a must. Then lastly, stay locked with your man until you can anticipate the flight of the ball. Lots to learn here. Let's see how we do. There's a good check out, good balance, recovery. Again, good pivot. Arms are out. Hips are down with good balance. There's good anticipation to the ball, not leaving too soon. Another good reverse pivot into the man. Now let's take a look at this from the perimeter. We're going to be using a forward pivot to lock our man. It's important to make quick contact, as we've done in this case. Good job.
As Coach Helms says, rebounding is a blue-collar job. You got to bring your lunch pail because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of contact. It takes commitment, okay, to be a good rebounder. And we're going to look at some of the aspects of that. We're going to review it for you. Right here, look at the defensive player. He has to make contact with the offensive player, and however he can. He's got his arms back so that he can control him. He's leaning on him. He feels him. He is not going to release that man until the ball is on its way down. That allows a defensive player to get to the ball right away. So that's a good lockout there. All right, let's take a look at a little bit more, okay? Now we bring the ball up, shots up, he blocks him out. He never leaves the offensive player until he's got the ball. That's how you become a good rebounder.
Notice the stance here. Hips are down, feet are spread, arms extended. In this position, we can move in any direction. Let's see a drop step, a recovery, a drop step again, and a recovery. A slide to the left, a slide to the right, to the left, to the right, and maintain position. Let's look next at how to close out on a shooter from this stance. A good step up on the shooter and a good recovery. Again, we're going to close on the shooter. We stop the shot and recover to our basic defensive stance. Now that you've seen it in segments, let's see how it looks when we speed it up in game conditions. As you players are watching this, this is something that requires a lot of stamina, strength, and balance. But it's the essence of defense. Terrific. One of the principles of good defensive basketball is to keep pressure on the ball. In this next drill, we want to watch our defenders assume a good defensive stance, slide their feet, use a drop step as they attempt to cut off the dribbler. If you're able to keep this kind of pressure on the ball, I'm sure the coach has a spot for you on his team. We're keeping good pressure on the ball. See the footwork, the good slides, the drop step. These are all things that you can implement into your game. All the way up on the defender. He cuts him off. See the slide, not crossing his feet. Again, cutting him off. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Forces him to cut back, cuts him off. Great footwork.
Remember, to be a good defensive player, you must work on your stance and your footwork. That allows you to make the kind of slides necessary to drop step, to recover, to put pressure on the ball. So it's time. You got to put the time in. You watch the player as he slides his feet back and forth, as he drop steps, as he recovers, as he challenges the ball. All those things are necessary in becoming a good defensive player. We'll look at a one-on-one situation as well, where you can see the player challenging the man, doing all these things that we talk about. Look at his balance. Look at his footwork, how he drop steps right there, how he drop steps again. The whole time keeping the offensive player in front of him. Defense is hard work. It's not anything that's easy, but you can do it. If you practice the stance, if you practice your footwork, if you do these things, then you're going to be able to make the kind of adjustments necessary to be a good defender.
Defensive denial is a must. As we watch this next drill, I want you to notice how the defender tries to keep his man from receiving a pass from the top of the floor. Once he does receive the ball, he's going to adjust his defensive position and try to take away a middle drive. At the same time, as his opponent makes a drive towards the basket, he's going to have to slide his feet, keeping good balance, shutting off the dribble. Good denial. Keeps him out of the middle, forces him side with a good block. Again, good balance. Notice how his footwork is trying to keep him out of the middle, which he does. Ball has to go back out. Good defense. Here we come again into the middle. It's taken away. Again, no middle. He has to drive. Our defender makes a good stop.
Here again in playing defense one-on-one, the man pops out and you want to get out there and try and deny him. Once he catches the ball, then you want to deny his path to the basket. You never want to give him the opportunity to get to the hoop. So again, remember, the defensive stance, the footwork, all that's important, even in one-on-one basketball. Let's make it hard for the offensive player to do anything.
Defending the forwards are a big part of team defense. One of the things that we want to illustrate in this next drill is the importance of denying a player the ball. As we do that, it forces him farther from the basket and helps our defense. As the player catches the ball, notice how our defender will square up in order to prevent the drive. We'll see some baseline drives and we'll see some attempts to get into the middle of the floor. Watch the footwork, the defensive slides as our defenders cut off the drive. We also want to watch the help side defense. There will be attempts to double team and still recover on our own man. The double teamers really have their work cut out. They don't want their man to beat them into the middle. Notice how we forced the offensive player out from the basket. We've used good position, good sliding of the feet to cut off the layup. Again, player's forced outside. Notice what a good job he's doing keeping him out of the middle of the floor. Again, does a nice job shutting off the baseline drive with good footwork, hips down, and good balance. Excellent defense.
As Coach Helms said, 2-on-2 wing denial defense is a great way to practice your defense. We're going to take a look at these guys working down here. Look right here. Here we denied, we made him go out. Now he catches the ball and we come give the help. Here's the main defender. Here's the help defender, okay? We've got the player sealed. There isn't any way that this player can step through here to get to the basket. The only pass that he can make is this pass out this way. He can't make this pass because the defender is there. So our help side defense has been really great. So again, the drill is very good in helping you to improve your defense, okay? So work on that 2-on-2 wing denial.
In this next sequence, you're going to see what it means to have good low post defense. You players watching this now, please observe how we can three-quarter our defensive man. We're doing this in order to keep the ball out of his hands. When the ball is swung to the corner, notice how we step over the top so there cannot be a direct pass inside. Also, our low post players are going to take advantage of this from an offensive standpoint by coming to the free throw line for a quick pass inside. If you can master these defensive skills and keep the ball out of the middle with good team defense inside, your team is going to have a great chance to win. You notice the defensive player adjusting his position. The ball went to the top of the court for an easy layup. Again, he's three-quartering on the baseline, stepping over the top. The ball is swung. We lock inside with good defense on the top. Again, the ball is reversed. Players posting up. Notice the three-quarter in the front position. The lob over the top because we had a good lock by the offense.
Now I know we covered low post defense. Coach Helm gave you 4 ways in which you can defend the low post. But when you work on the low post, we also want to work on the offense a little bit too if we can. So we're going to look at our demonstrators and see if we can do this. All right, let's take a look. Right here, we move the ball around. Player gets to the low post. We want a three-quarter. We want a front. We want to step in front of him. Now, here we move the ball and the player, the defender, here he's caught on top, right? And this player here made a great pass to the top. So what should the offensive player do? What the offensive player should do is lock his man, like this offensive player is doing. Lock him right here, control him, and now the offensive player can make the pass over the top to him, and there isn't anyone between the offensive player and the basket. So it's a good way to work on 2 things where we get a chance to score. All right, let's take it a little further because I want to show you something else, all right? Here we swing the ball to the other side of the floor. Now we come back to the top. Same situation we had before where the offensive player catches the defender on top. He's going to lock him, right? So where's the help for the defensive player? Let's look at his teammate right here. I think he's reading a comic book or something, all right? Because look at his hands. They're down at his sides. Not very good defense. In fact, at this point in time, he should be challenging the ball. He should be pressuring the ball. That's what we talked about in good defense. Remember? Pressure the ball. If you pressure the ball, maybe it's not an easy pass over the top. But by not pressuring the ball, let's see what happens. The pass goes in, easy layup. Not very good defense, right? So remember, we want to work on that defense. We want to work on the stance, the pressure, all of that.
Now let's look at some of the specific fundamentals involved in good defensive rebounding. I want you to watch in this next drill the footwork that's involved, the pivoting, the body contact, and capturing the ball before the offense can get to it.
Remember, blocking out makes you a better rebounder. So we have to focus on that. And we're going to take a look at a 2-on-2 drill where blocking out becomes very important. Right here you see the players set, shot goes up, they both block out, and we get the ball. Now let's stop that and see how did we get that ball, okay? So right here the players, they watch the ball and both defenders lock their man. Let me show you right here. Right here, we got this man locked right here. Here, we got this player locked here, this offensive player. Remember this as a tip. When you lock a player out, keep contact until you secure the ball.
This drill illustrates good help side defense. Help side defenders are those defenders away from the ball. They're actively involved in the whole team defense, as you'll see. Notice the stance that's incorporated. All players have their hips down, arms extended, ready to defend their area. Also notice the footwork. They'll be sliding their feet, attempting not to cross their feet where they might become tangled up. Also, they'll be helping and recovering with teammates. As the ball is advanced, a teammate will rush over and try to stop the penetration towards the basket. The next thing he'll do is try to recover back on his man. Also, as they recover back on their man, they'll be attempting to pressure the shooter. There's a good penetration. We have two players on one, yet they're still getting back to the man. Notice the players away from the ball, how they're defending the 3-second area and still reacting back on their man. Good footwork, good defensive slides. There we have a 2-on-1, and they're still getting back on their man.
Now, Coach Helm has talked about defending, about helping out, recovering. Okay, we're going to look at that in this little drill here because I want to show you a couple of things. All right, let's watch what happens. Here we got the ball on top, okay? And we seal the middle, we go to the side to help. Now let me show you what's happening. Right here, we have the defender on the ball. He has good pressure. The man who is covering this man on top drops down to seal so that the offensive player can't split the gap. But what happens in this drill, and that's why coaches, you got to watch this player here is down too low, all right? He should be in this area right here because we already have a player here covering the area. So if he stays up here, then he protects the man who is helping here because he can get to this man out here, see? So you don't want to get too low. Now let's look at it when it happens properly, okay? The ball is swung around. Right here, the player on the wing gets it. Now we're in a trap, okay? We're double teaming. Right here, the defender who is covering the man, the player who came over to give good help, right? Now, let's look at the weak side help, right? We've opened up to the ball real good. He's in a position where he can get here, or if this man here try to cut through, he could drop back and take passing lane away. Or if they skip pass over the top, from here all the way out to here, this man can recover. Now, that's good defense, okay? So remember, what you do in practice is what you're going to do in the game. I hope you enjoyed our program on defense. Also included in this package will be fundamentals on offense. We'll cover dribbling, ball control, passing, and shooting. And at the end of each section, we'll have some great offensive drills for you. Thanks again for watching.
Players, there are a number of things that we want you to remember as we share some tips with you. Your individual improvement will involve a number of areas. Take what you have and develop it. You can do this through camps as well as clinics and tapes and films. Not only effort and practice time, but conditioning will be an important part of your development, not just getting strong. It will involve stamina, strength, flexibility, quickness, reaction time, and vertical lift. Don't leave any of these out. The weight training room will have many aids and programs for you to follow. And coaches will have a big role in assigning you a program. Have lots of work in the weight room and it'll pay off in the future. We're going to be giving now some tips for you coaches. Make sure that you have goals and incentives for your players. Be sure and communicate. Often problems arise with players and parents when there's very little communication. Give your opinions to your players. Share with them your thoughts on substitutions, why they're not playing or why they're playing. And then lastly, make sure you evaluate carefully all that you've done. Another area for your own improvement will be in the area of coach preparation. Read plenty of basketball books. There are many available in different periodicals. Clinics that are offered all over the country where other coaches can share their tips as well. Video and films are an important part of coach development. And lastly, learn to be a teacher. It's a sharing of all these tips and fundamentals that will lead to the successful development of your players. An important part of the practice will be warming up and also cooling down when the practice is finished. This can be done with stretching, jogging, and then light team drill to build up circulation. Then at the finish of practice, cool down naturally, perhaps a shooting game, and then plenty of fluids for your players. The breakdown of practices should include what are you doing on offense, defense, rebounding, fast break, presses and press breakers, post play, free throws, and the role of your assistant coaches. One of the suggestions that we make is that you chart the time allotted to each one of these aspects. Now you'll know if you're spending too much time on a particular area of your game. Evaluation in relation to the goals set for players and teams after the end of these practices is important. The fun part includes some of the strategies that you'll make for games. I'd like to list just a few of these that you can include in your tip sheet. The adjustments and changes should include when to use your timeouts, changes that you'd like to make at the end of periods, the beginning of periods, the role of the last 2 minutes before the half and at the end of the game. You have a check sheet for special plays that you would like to use in certain situations. How are you going to use your substitutes? You need to substitute for offense or for defense. Make sure that you think through carefully all of these game strategies. I've listed just a few of them for you to include. Hopefully, this type of preparation will lead to lots of extra wins for you.